4 years after we met, she walked back into my life, and 99 days later, we were married. But before any of that could happen, I had to completely change the way I live my life. What's the secret to finding the one? Well, it's not about strategies or trying to be what someone else wants. In my early 20s, I thought I had life figured out. It was all about validation, success, get ahead, and basically just looking for significance. But eventually the excitement wore off and I felt like something wasn't right. And in the beginning I ignored it, but eventually I couldn't anymore. My life was on repeat. Same parties, same people, same empty feeling the next morning. I didn't know what I was missing. I just knew that something had to change. And at 25, I made the decision that would alter my life forever. I didn't go to college like most people do after high school. I had been working for 6 years, grinding at something that I felt had come to a dead end. I didn't want to stay in Norway, and I couldn't go back to Sweden. I felt like as if I was stuck in between two places with no idea where I was supposed to go next. But then, on a cold winter day in 2014, I got on a bus to visit my brother. I brought some wine along for this bus ride, expecting to just sit next to my friend and talk, but life had other plans. This woman, just a couple of years older than me, was seated right next to me. And at first it was just casual conversation, but then the conversation shifted. By the time the bus ride was over, she had planted an idea in my mind that I couldn't shake. 6 months later, I packed my bags and went to California. At the time, I had no idea what I was looking for, but I was about to find out. When I came to California, I felt like something changed. I'd spent my early 20s searching for success and money, and now I felt drawn and immersed into something else. I spent hours and hours at the library studying not only business but psychology, philosophy, creative writing, and public speaking. I started taking long walks on the beach, and I started reflecting on my life and my path in a way I'd never had before. For the first time in my life, I wasn't focused on getting ahead. I was just present. I finished my degree and I tried to follow the safe path, but life had other plans. Through a series of perfectly imperfect events, I found myself working as a dishwasher at a struggling restaurant. And it definitely felt like a setback at 28 years old. But in reality, it was exactly where I needed to be. One night, as I scrubbed dishes in the back, I noticed how empty the restaurant was, and I had an idea. I started bringing my guitar to work, and at first it was just something fun to do, to play for the guests. But then something unexpected happened. People started to come in just to hear me play. I started hosting a weekly writer's night event, and eventually this restaurant that no one really paid attention to was full. I didn't realize it at the time, but something inside of me had shifted. For the first time in my life, I did something purely because it felt right. Not for money, not for status, and not for anyone's approval. Just for me. And that was the moment when everything changed. I got fired from that restaurant. But it didn't matter, because for the first time in my life, I knew exactly who I was. And here's where things get interesting. Because when you fully step into who you were meant to be, when you stop pretending, stop chasing, and start living with authenticity, something happens. The right people start to recognize you. And that's when I met her. She was truly the one, but the timing was off. I believe that if something is meant to be, it'll be. And 4 years later, she walked back into my life, and after only 99 days in real life, we got married. So, what's the secret to finding the one? Well, it's not about strategies or trying to be what someone else wants. It's not about dating apps and looking harder. It's about becoming who you were always meant to be. It's really about letting go of control and surrender to what was always meant to be. This doesn't mean just sitting on the couch and waiting for something to happen. Not at all. It means to keep moving forward but not being attached to an outcome. It means to listen inwards and ask the right questions. What truly lights me up? What do I want out of this life? When do I feel like myself? When you fully know the answers to these questions and you start putting it out in the world, there will be signs and events that push you in the right direction. Your job here is to read these signs, to interpret them in a way that truly serves you. It means that you have to stay 100% positive and believe that the best is yet to come. When you start living from this place, everything changes, I'm telling you. And when the right person then eventually comes along, they'll recognize you instantly and you will recognize them because you're finally exactly where you're supposed to be. If you want to hear the story of how I met my wife, click this video right here.